here are 5 stupid things I've noticed about my hometown, Hagerstown, Maryland. It's racist as hell. In late June 1950, a 20-year-old outfielder for the minor league Trenton Giants named Willie Mays played his first game of professional baseball in Hagerstown. The good people of Hagerstown who attended that game welcomed him with taunts of, "Who's this nigger?" and "Watermelon Man." Attitudes have changed a bit since then. Fans no longer shout racist abuse from the bleachers of Municipal Stadium. Yeah, occasionally some explicit racism will bubble to the surface, but it's mostly a more casual bigotry that covers Hagerstown these days, like a light dusting of fresh early winter snow that dooms African Americans to lives of poverty and desperation and never, ever melts. It needs to see a therapist. The Hagerstown community exhibits many of the classic symptoms of depression: pessimism, irritability, difficulty making decisions, loss of appetite. Okay, well, that's the exception then. The point is, Hagerstown's got issues. It has low self-esteem, it's insecure, it's extremely sensitive to criticism. Those of you who used to watch my Riffing on Mail Call series on this channel will know what I'm talking about there. If it were possible for a town to collectively receive psychotherapy, I would suggest that Hagerstown make an appointment. Or maybe we could just add Lexapro to the water. It tries to be historic without the history. Hagerstown fancies itself a hotbed of American history. It's one of the few sources of local pride. The problem is, nothing of any real historical relevance has ever actually happened in Hagerstown. The most significant thing about Hagerstown, as far as that goes, is probably that most of the Confederate dead from the Battle of Antietam are buried there. And sure, that's a really fascinating fact if you're a Civil War nerd, but it's difficult to build your town's reputation as an historic destination on just that. Damned if they don't try, though. It's choked by apathy. There's an old cliche that describes the prevailing attitude of Hagerstown as perfectly as any statement I've ever heard. It goes, there are 2 things people around here hate: change and the way things are. This paralysis is caused by apathy, which is exacerbated by fear, which in turn is fueled by ignorance. And I'll give you a relatively benign example of this. A few years ago, there was passionate public debate in Hagerstown over whether or not to set aside a small portion of town land to serve as a dog park. And listening to the arguments that those opposed to the dog park were making, you might have thought that a dog park was some revolutionary concept. And it's just possible that some of those who stood against it did honestly perceive the dog park as something strange and unheard of, because after all, there had never been one in Hagerstown before. And many, many of the people who live in Hagerstown have never lived anywhere else, for the simple reason that it's difficult to escape. Hagerstown's not just a town, it's a trap. It traps people with apathy, it traps them with poverty, it traps them with the lie that they don't deserve any better. It's a miserable place filled with miserable people who are too afraid of failure to invest in their own futures and yet are also unable or unwilling to go anywhere else. If you have aspirations of doing anything with your life other than holding down a job and paying your bills, it can be a really depressing place. But then again, it's not all that different from a lot of other places, I suppose. One of the things I learned from comments left on my Riffing on Mail Call videos by people from all across the country and all around the world is that the characteristics I've just been describing are far from unique to Hagerstown. And that's pretty depressing too, isn't it? Oh, well. Oh, hey, did I tell you they eventually opened the dog park? Yeah, they did. It's great. Look at the doggy. So, that's a little better, right? The hardest part is only picking 5. Catch you next time.